Art is something that's been a part of society for over 30,000 years, and people usually think of more traditionalist kinds of art when they think of art itself. Technology has been able to offer a new medium which many artists are able to utilize and explore with. Digital artwork is an aesthetic work or drill that utilizes digital technology as an indispensable component of the creation or presentation process. And digital art itself began in the early 1900s when an artist named Harold Cohen used a computer program created by engineers that essentially enabled a robot to draw on large pieces of paper using various colors and lines. This early instance of digital art is very far from what we know today as digital art. It's also good to recognize the original idea because it does coincide in today's modern technology itself. Other forms of digital art include graphics, which are being made for marketing, creating advertising and branding material. Movies, videos like YouTube videos. These can be seen as forms of art. And then one of the most prominent kinds of digital art, of course, itself is, I think, fan art. And fan art has been a thing for a very long time because of the fact that fan bases themselves have been around since the early 1900s and were built around books. Fan bases and fan art are basically created around either TV shows, books, comics, movies, any kind of media that has accumulated fans or has anyone that likes it, there's probably going to be fan art of it. It's common knowledge that artists, even traditional, utilize references to create their art pieces, so it's also safe to say that, of course, every digital fan artist is going to utilize some kind of source material for their art pieces, considering that they're making art of a narrative that's already around or based around. In fan art, the viewer will often have a point of reference from which to interpret the work. Usually this point of reference is part of the work itself. The image, for example, may be of a popular character in a franchise, and so the viewer's point of reference would be popular cultural representations of that character. And one of the ways in which digital fan artists get their source material is through the use of different kinds of apps, and one app in particular that many like to use is Pinterest. This app basically functions like Google, and so basically you just search for a character on this app and thousands of images will show up for them, and you could simply save it or pin it to your board, basically like a photo album, and then you could go back, revisit your little photo albums, and then choose reference and whatnot. And of course, references also come in handy because many of the programs that digital fan artists use have a small window where you can import the reference itself to make sure that the art is accurate to the source material while you're doing the process of creating it. So digital fan artists have been able to access so many different kinds of programs because of the amount of technological advancements that have happened. So digital painting softwares such as Corel Painter, Adobe Photoshop, ArtRage, GIMP, Krita, My Brushes, Open Canvas, and so many more give artists a similar environment to a physical painter. So they give them a canvas, painting tools, mixing palettes, and a multitude of color options. One of the most prominent aspects of these programs is basically all these tools that you could use, and it's not as limited and set back as it is for more traditional fan artists. The digital artist has at his disposal several tools not available to the traditional painter. Some of these include a virtual palette consisting of millions of colors, almost any size canvas or media, the ability to take back mistakes, as well as erasers, pencils, spray cans, brushes, combs, and a variety of 2-dimension and 3-dimension effect tools. Digital art in itself seems to hold more benefits for artists, especially those who are learning the basics of drawing, because it would be much more difficult, say, for someone to start with traditional art, since I guess there's more limitations in terms of the materials that you have, since you have to buy them, the fact that you have to be precise with what you're doing, and if not, you're making a mistake, so you have to erase it, and it could actually potentially ruin the entire thing, especially when you're in the process of, finalizing it. While digitally, you can basically hit the undo button and you're perfectly fine. So unlike traditional artists who get their work displayed in museums and art galleries and physical places, many digital fan artists aren't regarded as highly as most traditional fan artists. This means that a physical place to view these pieces is not ideal at all. For as long as there have been digital advancements, there have been artists making use of said advancements in creative ways and sharing this through the internet. In the beginning, museums failed to adapt digital media to the way traditional media is displayed. So this is why a majority of digital fan artists tend to share their work on various different social media platforms in hopes of finding, other fan artists, whether that be digital or traditional, and just finding those who share the common interest of creating various fan arts based on their favorite narratives. This makes art platforms a place for human, societal, and political relations, a place where communities may form. Through the use of social media, it seems as though not only are artists able to get their fan art out into the digital gallery, but alongside that, they're able to, communicate with other artists, and ultimately they build a community in which they can help one another in what they do. So within the digital fan art community, there's this big idea on encouraging any artist you come across, since a lot of the time there's so much art circulating around social media, and sometimes it could feel like a competition. And as one person said, the topic of being an online artist on the internet is a mixture of something highly inspiring as well as crisis-inducing, as there are many artists one can compare themselves to and in turn find their own works lacking. And while of course there's a huge variety of artists and talent that stems from digital fan art, this also creates a community in which artists help motivate and encourage one another to keep creating art. In these communities, members support one another's progress and developments in their creative process, basically making a safe space for creators to explore and experiment with their abilities. Sally Samuelson did do a study and did ask many fan artists their thoughts on inclusivity when it came to the social media side of sharing their fan arts, and half of the participants had expressed positively that through various ways they found a connection through fan art, either making friends, sharing humor, or simply being surrounded by fans of the same interest, or other interactions through fan art like commissioning artists leaving comments. So as we explored, the digital fan art community seems to be, an encouraging place that invites fans to engage with one another's work. And one of the ways in which the community engages and connects regardless of a fan base is through collaborations or do this in your own styles. So do this in your own style prompts are basically, it's a post made by an artist in which they draw something specific, and then in the caption they'll ask all of the people that follow them or anyone who comes across it to participate in basically drawing the same prompt that they put in their caption, or whatever it may be in the drawing that they posted with the caption, and putting the tag on it so that they can see all the different kinds of artists. And not only does it help bring a community together, but it also helps artists, showcase their skills. On the other hand, collaborations, they are very similar to do this in your own style, except that a collaboration is usually done with the intent to have several artists draw the same character or the same person, and usually it's for like an event like their birthday or Halloween or that kind of thing. Every artist who participates, they'll all post on the same day, and they'll have their post on the front, and all the other slides will have all the other artists with their accounts linked to it. And it's just a way that fan art communities can come together and create something. When it comes to collaboration, fans have never been better placed to work together on their art. Using instant feedback tools like shared documents and social networks like Tumblr and DeviantArt and Skype, fans can work together to produce extremely elaborate works of art regardless of physical distance. And with these 5 texts, I do think it's really helpful in understanding the digital fan art community and how they present themselves. They're basically a community which creates art using, technological advancements to help share their passion about some kind of narrative that they really enjoy, and they're creating this art and enjoying doing so. And I do think that it is like an actual, form of art, because I know there's a lot of people who think that because it's digital, it's not actually art itself, but there's a lot of time put into creating these kinds of things and whatnot, and it's just an overall a very welcoming community. And I ultimately chose to tell the story because I do consider myself to be a part of this community in itself. And in a way, I've been a part of it since 2015, even though at the start, I myself didn't really do digital. I stuck with traditional since I did not have the tools at the time. I thought it would be interesting because while I am a part of it, I've never really, looked that deep into it. I just know, from my experience, what it's like. And I wanted to see if it's like this for every digital fan artist or everyone who's in a fan base and makes fan art, because of course every fan base is different. And I think one of the most challenging aspects of telling the story was being able to do it in a broader sense, since fan art could range from TV shows, books, movies, comics, and even people's favorite singers or sports teams. It's such a broad and vast community, yet everybody shares the same tools, intentions, and ambition when it comes to taking media and entertainment they love and basically creating art to help express it. I hope that everyone can appreciate this side of art, just as we do with more traditional forms.